because, and it's said that, well, women should not be in the army then. You know, they should not be fighting side by side. And that, to me, that's a slap in the face to every man that is out there, that they cannot control their sexual desires. And I can't believe that the men serving in the military cannot control their sexual desires. There are a few that are giving everybody a bad name. I want to know, and you know, when you first started talking, you kept saying, well, give me their names. Their names is you. The buck stops here. Truman said it very nicely. Everybody, you know, and you know, everybody's talked about how bad the VA is, but then they talk about how good the VA is. I think that they're drastically understaffed. I've never used the VA myself. I served during during peacetime. You know, to me, that's for people who fought in wars. To me, I do use the vet center, you know, but maybe if you took a lesson from Brubaker, the guy that acted as a penitentiary person, that went in as a convict. He was the warden, going to be the warden, and he went in as a convict to see how things were run. Because you have said several times, I didn't know, I don't know. Well, give me names. Well, find those names. It's up to you. You run it. It's your responsibility to get these people who were called, some of them against their will, to fight in wars. And that war, and you know, I think Kate Wolf says it the best. They killed me in Vietnam and I didn't even know. And from what I hear, that's true with almost every war that has happened. You kill people and they don't even know it because they don't find out until later that you've put stuff all over them to cause them problems. There's got to be something done. We're going to have wars, unfortunately, but it is up to the United States of America. When you put people in harm's way, not to be in that harm's way. And that includes the women who are raped, and nothing's done about it. You know, even when they rape people, if they're discharged, they still get their benefits and probably an honorable discharge. The woman gets told that she is something mentally wrong with her, and gets a different kind of discharge that sticks with her the rest of her life. And him, men get raped too. Men get raped too. So it's not only that women are in the Army, because when women were not predominant, were in the Army in the forces that they are now, men were raped. And that's sad. That's just sad. And I don't understand why, in the get-go, people were not held responsible for that. Women were not given their back. I went in 1979, first women to go into Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. My tactical training was trying to get from my barracks to the Sting to have a beer. I almost crawled because you couldn't get through the 75 men to every one woman without being harassed. Now, I expect harassment, I really do. You tell people they can't have sex with people and they want to be men and they don't know, they're young, they don't know what men are. So they take their cues from drill sergeants and they take their cues from people who should be giving them good cues, but they don't. Something needs to be done. This needs to stop. We're all on the same side. We're all fighting for the same thing, and that is to live safe in the world.
This is a really important issue for folks here to think about how you could help me address it. Because the Senate has taken a lead on military sexual assault. In particular, a colleague of mine, Kirsten Gillibrand from New York, she's doing a remarkable job, but she would, I think, herself tell you, and this is not something that either of these gentlemen have promoted, so I'm holding them responsible for these issues in active military is a bit tough, although there are rapes and sexual assaults and inappropriate sexual activity that happen in any care setting, including hospitals, that they need to be acutely aware of, and I expect that. But we want to self-report sexual assault inside the military, and I, for one, do not think that can work. I think it's got to be an outside ombudsman, independent commission, and you should know that that is stalling in Congress, and we cannot move it. So, to your point, we need much more advocacy in that arena, and I'm happy to get on our website what's happening in Congress, who's doing what we're doing about those issues, and the many, many men and women who are trying to get this right in the military. It has not been easy, and the recent oversight hearings about not just one branch, but all military branches who are inappropriately continuing to treat women with disrespect and as sexual beings in a way that's non-consensual is, I can't find a word strong enough about how horrified and disappointed I am. So it's getting the right attention, but the right laws aren't being done. And I appreciate that you said men and women, and I think it's less too often about sexual issues and way too much about predatory issues that we need to really get addressed, and we need to screen folks out on the front end of the military and hold them both criminally and related in the military. So I appreciate you.
Hold rapists under the same guidelines as you held homosexuals.
We need to figure it out. So thank you for your courage. And can I do that on my website? Will you help me get more advocacy in New Mexico and across the country? Because we're stalling. I'm going to tell you, it's not been easy. We're stalling. Are you next? This one. And thank you. That was nice. And aren't you? I could use it, but you know what happens? I'm an old lady, gave birth twice. I'm worried about the choices I have here. Yes, sir.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you. I'm Michael Piscitello. I was in the Gulf War and Somalia. I would say my experience with the VA has been, thank goodness for your office, because I'm able to, schedule my appointments through you to get appointments, because it takes, I'll schedule an appointment and then it will take about 90 days to get an appointment. So your office, thank goodness, I'm able to contact you, and twice already you've helped me to get care. Usually within about a week, which is amazing, because I'll write you a letter or an email on 1 week, and then by next week, you've already responded, and the VA CEO has called me up and said, hey, we got your appointment. But I'm not sure why it takes 90 days to get an appointment.
It shouldn't, and I'll defend them and then beat them both. They know it's coming. We are Congress, meaning we are not funding them sufficiently. We're not giving them access to higher. I cannot say, I have lost my mind over the centralization of their hiring. It's the worst idea. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a clinician, you want to work for them? Well, it's 2 years. They lose their applicants over and over and over and over again. They can never catch up, even when they have the funding. It's the most archaic, bureaucratic system I've ever seen in my life. It has to be totally overhauled. But by the same token, because this guy's willing to do this job, to make sure that we have systems in place, in spite of those archaic, problematic, bureaucratic systems, to see you well before 90 days. And I think it's a wake-up call to both Director Welch and myself, that we're still not getting the waiting list appointment issues dealt with. So having you here and telling your story, you and I have got to figure it out. Because I committed, and he did too, we were going to get it right at this hospital. And so we're not there yet, Director Welch, and we got to get it done, because I worry about everybody else who doesn't get to you and doesn't get to me. Thank you for that.
And another thing is, also once you do get in there, you get your appointment, and they tell you to be there 30 minutes before your appointment. So let's say the appointment's at 2 o'clock, and you get there at 1:30, and so you're on time for your appointment, but then it takes till 4:30 for you to actually be seen. 5 o'clock sometimes. And sometimes, I have other appointments, I've got other things I've got to do. I can't
Gotta
just
go
sit
to
at the
work.
VA. Exactly. So I can't just sit at the VA and wait for hours to get seen for an appointment that was supposed to happen at 2 o'clock.
Can we improve that?
Yes, we can. And I'm going to have Joe get with you and find out exactly where it's happening so that we can drill down and ask the right people the hard questions.
And then also the other thing is, too, when I go in and see the doctor, sometimes they, rather than treating some of the physical issues, they try to put stuff back onto PTSD.
So that's, and a couple of things I would suggest, and we can work with you. I've been really lucky to have the kind of health care where I can make productive choices. So when my primary care doesn't seem to fit with me, I'll use a different example. I have a bad leg because I was foolish. And I had to have surgery someplace else because I was foolish. And then I needed health care here, and I went to a provider here, and that doctor and I did not get along. It's just, I didn't feel good about it. He didn't do anything wrong. It didn't work for me. The thing that I needed fixed, he just wasn't interested, I felt, in hearing what I had to say about it or fix it. So I was able to say, we're not a good fit, and move along and find somebody who was. You're not in that position as readily. We need to figure that out, because the reality is your relationship with your healthcare provider makes all the difference in your ability to get well. And that's not always the fault of the provider, but you gotta find the right fit. And if someone's not hearing your physical symptoms, or someone's doing the reverse and not understanding the behavioral health issues that are all connected, so that the whole person isn't being treated productively, I'd like us to think about ways to make sure that we are matching when someone says, this is not a good fit for me, and I don't want to wait another 3 months because it looks like because this is what happens to you. I'm going to pick on you. In all healthcare systems, including private healthcare systems, the second I complain, it gets into my record, and my insurance company says, well, it's your fault that you're not getting the healthcare. Well, it's not my fault. Right? Believe me, it's not my fault. So we need to make sure that we're really paying attention to that and matching up, is when you say, I'm going to do a terrible thing, my personal story. My husband, I lost him when he was 46. He had terrible, terrible headaches. Never had headaches. Went to his doctor, and his doctor said, you're out of shape. You should run more. He had a brain aneurysm and died. I don't want to pick on that doctor, but my husband needed to say, you're not hearing me about these headaches. So it's both. He was a guy. You know what? He loved that answer. That was the perfect answer. Right on. I'll fix my headaches. Because he didn't want to know that. He didn't want to think about being sick. That was the wrong doctor-patient relationship. I needed a doctor who said, how long have you been having these headaches? You've never had headaches before. They stop you from being able to work. You need a CAT scan. So we need to find providers, and veterans need to feel like you can complain that it's not the right fit. So let's make sure that we get you to a provider that's the right provider for you for all of your healthcare issues in the Veterans Administration.
Yeah, that would be, I'd like that.
Good.
Because, I was exposed to many things in the Gulf War. The Kuwaiti oil well fires, the burn pits, the gas oil
know about those, or you should make sure that you're getting the right, because we're having trouble in the country finding providers who know how to treat burn pit victims. So if we can work with you on that, and I can work with the director and his staff, we've got at least 2 from this town hall that we are to think about ways in which to meet your medical and healthcare needs. Because I have to admit, that's a hard one. So let's get you to the places that would give you the best care because of their expertise and current experience. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Thank you for having us today, and I would formally like to request that you stay in Congress as long as possible.
I can't, it's too late.
We can cancel that. Good morning again. I need some help in getting the VA to allow more flexibility in me using my GI Bill, my post 9/11 GI Bill. I served 23 years in the Air Force with 4 tours supporting OIF and OEF operations here in Korea and deployments all around the world. I definitely feel like I earned my GI Bill benefits. Since I transitioned, I started a small business here in Albuquerque to support my family and my community.
Thank
I
you.
need training to support my business.
Can I ask you, I'm interrupt you, you're reading. What business do you have?
I support charity operations. My name of my business is One Community Auto. And what we do is we help charities manage their car donations. We bring them in, we refurbish them, and we resell them to the community. So we're helping our low-income community plus helping charities. So we really love giving back to our community. I need some trainings to support my business growth goals, but the VA will not allow me to use my benefits to grow my business through things like industry and my association trainings, for example, local small business development center trainings, and other programs that could really help me meet my strategic growth goals and improve our economy. I'm requesting your support in changing the rules of the VA to allow me more flexibility in using my GI Bill benefits. For example, currently they will only allow me to go to an accredited college. So I couldn't use my trainings to go to an association training, for example, in my industry, which would be very beneficial for me to learn about, the industry I'm in. I served in the Air Force. I didn't have a business training, for example. I served my country, but now I need those trainings. I have my GI Bill sitting here, and I'm unable to use it. So it's going to go away, unfortunately, because I don't need the, formal education per se. I need industry training. I need to be able to go to small business development training here, like for example, West here, our Women Business Center. They have tons of training, and they have a green room where I can shoot videos. I can't use any of it. I can't afford to pay for some of these things, but my GI Bill could help me in that.
So let's do 3 things. There's some great other nonprofit community training programs. I want to set you up, and they're going to love you, I can already tell. Thinking of a gentleman, so Elizabeth, Tim Nisley, and as you're doing that, make sure that that gets done too. I'm very interested in making sure the GI Bill meets your needs. So let's talk about introducing legislation that does that. You're going to have to help me with the language, because part of the problem with the GI Bill is that we ended up with predatory educational institutions who really logged on, to giving you something that you couldn't use later, much more expensive. But I think there's a way to write that so that you have independence and respect and flexibility, but we minimize that predatory response. So I'd like to do that. And if there's something in the rules currently without that congressional change that you think we can be advocates on, we'd like to try.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a great idea.
Thank you so
Thank you. Done.
Thank you.
Done. Sure. That's it.
Congresswoman, first good on you for helping our vets. This is outstanding.
Thank you. Welcome.
What I'd like to talk about is something that's kind of a wonky policy issue. It seems that the president wants to privatize our air traffic control system. I think this is grossly unwise. We have probably the safest air traffic control system in the world, and to turn that over to the airlines so that they get special access is very foolish. I hope that you will move to prevent this transference. And then I have one more issue. The last town hall you mentioned a Ides of Trump postcard campaign. Would it be possible for your office to inquire as to how that affected the White House at some point in time?
Yeah, Yeah, we absolutely can, and that's a fair thing in political issues, but knowing how many cards, what's going on, if there's been a response to something my office can do. If it's something that we can't do, we can. Then every member of Congress has a political operation. I don't want people to think that somehow I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. We can do it from either side, but this is an easy request. I'm a no on privatizing air traffic control. I'm worried that again, I want to be fair. I can see the White House's perspective that we've spent a lot of money trying to move into the right technological aspects to do better air traffic control management. I'm not satisfied that all those expenditures have been prudent and wise or effective. And we have trouble, it seems to me, particularly in government, identifying the right technical assistance. So I don't know why that is, because we've got great software folks available to us, but we just don't seem to get it right. That is an insufficient reason to completely change the way the accountability. And so I've visited our air traffic control several times here. Believe it or not, for some of the technical folks in the room, they're still using, not directly, but indirectly, MS-DOS. So we have some serious issues with upgrading. I'm all about getting that done, but yes, I'm a solid no to privatize air traffic control.
Thanks for the opportunity to ask a question. I would like your comment on something that's sort of general in nature, but it's my observation that our congressional delegation generally votes no on all the administration initiatives. And it seems like that could be bad for New Mexico, but it's also an opportunity for New Mexico of voting yes occasionally, and make sure that's known to the Trump administration, because he could be vindictive even. So what do you think about that?
So it's a very important issue, frankly. There's an election. Elections have consequences. And I'll tell you things that the Trump administration is proposing that I'm very interested in and agree with. One, that there needs to be in this country a priority for infrastructure. And I want infrastructure funding available, and I want it in this community. Now, I'm not sure about the details. There's already fighting about the details, right? Are we gonna privatize the interstate highway system? Right? And I'm being very general. I don't have these proposals. I need to be really earnest and fair. If it looks like that in its entirety, that's a problem. But we got to figure out a way. What do you have in mind? And if you're willing to leave that, because we couldn't get that done in the last Congress and in the last administration. So I want to do that. We need it. This country, and he's saying he wants those investments to be a priority here. I may not agree with some of the cuts, but as that's a priority, we do need infrastructure in this state and across the country. There's no question. If just the dam in California recently, or the Flint, right, water situation isn't enough to get Americans to realize we're in trouble. So those should be places for yeses. I voted on a Republican